Today we are going to do two lessons using the Pythagorean theorem. One is 6.5, where we're just going to use it with regular shapes, and then we'll hit 6.6 towards the end, where we're going to talk about distance on a coordinate plane. So have your notebook out, pencil out, and make sure you have a calculator available. So we're going to be using the Pythagorean theorem for at least part of the problem. We will be doing extra steps, and you have to make sure you follow those extra steps so that you get the correct final answer. And you have to make sure you are reading the whole problem. So the one that we're going to do, example 1, the recommended angle for a firefighting ladder is 75 degrees. When building a 110-foot ladder, when a 110-foot ladder is put up against a building at this angle, the base of the ladder is out about 28 feet from the building. So here's our 28 feet from the building down here. The base of the ladder is 8 feet above the ground. So right here's the base of the ladder. It's 8 feet above the ground. How high on the building will the ladder reach? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we have a 110-foot ladder, and we have a building, and hopefully that building stands at a right angle. So we have A, and we have B, and we have C. So using the Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is going to be our 28 feet from the bottom, so 28 squared. B squared, that's how tall the building is, B, and we don't know what that number is yet. C squared is the 110-foot ladder. I keep writing different things. Sorry about that. So let's go through. 28 squared is 784 plus B squared. 110 squared is 12,100. We're going to subtract the 784. So we get 11,316. We do the square root, and we're going to round it to the nearest tenth like it told us to. We get 106, and it says 0.37, so it's going to be 0.4. But this is not our answer. Remember, that's B. We still have to add that 8 feet at the bottom. So our answer is 114 and 4/10 feet. This is our answer. So we used the Pythagorean theorem, and then we had to do one other step in order to get our answer. Next problem, I want to find the perimeter of each figure. So we're going to find the outside. Now, this one we really don't have to do much because it gives it to us. For some reason they gave it to us, but we're going to assume this is a square. So this side is 2, this side is 2. So this would be 2, this would be 2, and then they gave us that. So we would just add it all together. We would have 2 plus 4 on this side, so that would be 8, plus 3, our answer is 11 inches. But in many cases, they give you all the other numbers, but they don't give you this side. You have to find the C, or the hypotenuse. So let's try this one. We have 20 yards here, 20 yards there, 20 there. Here we need to find our x. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We're going to have A and B, so 20 squared plus 21 squared equals C squared. 20 squared is 400. 21 squared is 441. That equals C squared. So we're going to add them together. 841. And then we're going to find the square root so that we get C all by itself. In this case, x. That equals 29. So x is 29. So x equals 29. And if they asked for the perimeter of that shape, we would add them all together. We would have 20 plus 20 plus 20. That gives me 60. Plus 21, and then plus 29. We have 10. We have 111 or 110 yards would be our perimeter, if that's what they asked. But that's why we have to use the Pythagorean theorem to find our hypotenuse so that we can add them all together. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to see if you can find x. So this is going to be a multiple step problem in order to find x. We know that this whole side is 12, but we have one triangle here and we have one triangle here. Our x is on that. We don't know this side. We have to figure that out. So the first thing we're going to do is the blue triangle. So we've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is a, this is going to be b, this is c. We don't know b because right now 12 is the whole thing. So let's do 6 squared plus b squared equals 10 squared. 36 plus b squared, that's a bad 36, I'm sorry, equals 100. I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. So b squared equals 64. Find the square root. B equals 8. It's one of those perfect squares. So now I know that this section is 8. Well, if the whole thing is 12, 12 minus 8 gives me 4. I know that this side is 4. Now that I have that, I can use the Pythagorean theorem again, and I've got 6 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared, or x. 36 plus 16 equals c squared. We add 36 and 16, we get 52 equals c squared. We find the square root of that. We're going to round to the nearest hundredth, or tenth, 7 and 2/10. So c, or x, equals 7 and 2/10. But we had to do the Pythagorean theorem once in order to find this portion so that we could get this portion, and then we had to do it again in order to get our answer. Now let's look at our second lesson, 6.6, finding distance on a coordinate plane. And once you see this, it's going to be super easy. So we're having on a coordinate plane, so that means we can draw triangles. Hiking group A leaves the ranger station. So here's our ranger station. They hike 8 kilometers south. So here's our 8 kilometers south. Each one is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 6 kilometers west. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we make a triangle. So we can figure out how to get back for them. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're going to have 8 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. So 64 plus 36 equals c squared. Add that together, that equals 100. Find the square root. 10. 10 equals c. So x here is 10. Group B leaves the ranger station. They go 3 kilometers east and 4 kilometers north. We have to find that. So we'll do it again. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. 9 plus 16, that gives us 25. Square root of 25, c equals 5. So how far apart are the two groups? 10 plus 5. They are 15 kilometers apart. And if we really wanted to, we could have done all the way across here and all the way up and down here and get 1 here. And then we would have gotten the same thing. So that's how we find distance on a coordinate grid. So I would recommend knowing your compass rose, knowing your directions when it comes to the coordinate grid. If anything, put it in your notes. The park is 5 miles east from your home. Here's your home. 5 miles east. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's where the park is at. The library is 4 miles north of the park. So I'd go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's the library. And then how far is the library from your home? So we're going to draw a straight line here where we have a right angle. So This side is 5, this side is 4. So here we go. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I got 5 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. 5 squared is 25. 4 squared is 16. I add them together, I get 41 equals C squared. Find the square root, and it says round your answer to the nearest tenth. So 6 4/10, and this is miles. So there's our answer. So we can draw a triangle on the coordinate grid and use the Pythagorean theorem. So on this one, we just have points. And remember, we have x, y coordinates. So x goes left and right, y goes up and down. So we're going to go to +9 and then -7. So there's our first point. That's our first one. Then our second one is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then -1. So we're going to draw a straight line here, straight line down, and then our diagonal. So here's our right angle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side. So here we go. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 5 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. 25 plus 36 equals C squared. We add them together, we get 61 equals C squared. Do the square root of both sides, round to the nearest tenth. So C equals 7 8/10, and that is the distance between our 2 points. So for the last one, put these two on the grid and see if you can find the distance between them. Pause the video and then come back to see if you're right. So let's go -5, 2, 3, 4, 5, -2. There's our first point. 1, 6, 2, 3, 4. There's our second point. So we draw our triangle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here we go. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. One side is 6, the other side is 7. So 36 plus 49 equals C squared. Add them together, we get 85. Find the square root. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. C would equal 9 2/10. So as usual, your homework is at the end of the lesson. So you're going to do 6.5, which is 1 through 4 and 11 through 17. And then 6.6, where you're using the coordinate grid, you're going to have 4 through 11 and a couple of review problems, 20 and 21. All problems are at the end of the lesson. Show all your work on paper. Make sure you ask questions if you have them. Thank you.